Technology is wonderful, except when it's not. There we go. Okay. We're going to start talking today, and we're going to bleed it in tomorrow into fingerprints. Fingerprints have been known, have been used, not the way they are now, but they've been using them since ancient Babylon, 3,000, 4,000 years ago. The ancient kings of Babylon used to use them for putting thumbprints in mud. This is mine. And then they can still go look at back fingerprints. They use them in China too for the same thing. Malpighi, last name by the way, he's a professor of, he noted the ridges, spirals, and loops in the fingerprints. He made no mention of their value as a tool. The layer of skin where they are found is now called the Malpighi layer, and it's not very thick. It's just like the very top layer of your skin. Mr. Evangelist Perkini, and don't even ask me to pronounce it. He actually talked about it, discussed it, and started coming up with fingerprint patterns. Again, no mention of using them for personal identification. So people have been knowing about fingerprints, but at no point up till now had they thought about using them. It just, yeah, that's kind of cool. Mr. Herschel actually used his handprint to sign his documents during his when he's out doing his little thing in India. This is proof of me. Again, it's the only one that's really used, and there's no way to confirm that that's his handprint, but that's what he uses. This is my handprint, sort of like victim art. Dr. Falls is a surgeon. Again, he called them skin furrows. He's not only recognized the importance of fingerprints as a means of identification, but he actually devised a method of classification as well. Mr. Thompson is U.S. Geological, again, thumbprint to document his stuff. This is my stuff, thumbprints, fingerprints. In the United States, this is the first time that fingerprints were used as a way of identification. Galton, a British guy, he began observations of fingerprints as a means of identification. They're still not used yet, but he actually was starting to bring up the subject about possibly using them as identification. Sir Henry, again, fingerprint for criminal identification in England. A lot of people make fun of England and things, but they were ahead in a lot of sciences. Forensic science.
One ahead of T.
Again?
One ahead of Judgment T.
I still don't understand what you're saying.
You said they went ahead of tax and T.
Oh, yeah, that's true. In the United States, the first ones that actually used fingerprints for identification was the New York prison system. I don't know if it mentions it, why they did it, but it's kind of cool. No, they didn't. New York prison system, about a week ago, we were talking about measuring of the bones and the head and the size of the ears as a method of identification in prison. Put your cell phones up. There were two people. They were not related any stretch of the imagination. They were both African American. They both looked about the same, at the same height, same build. Both of them had the same name. One was Will West and the other was William West. But again, no relationship to each other, just names are similar. Well, Will West, who was innocent of any crimes, was in prison because he had the same measurements as William West. It wasn't until they actually started looking into fingerprints that they realized they were two separate people. So that's why you can't use ear size. I mean, you can identify people, but it's just a general notification. The FBI was originally founded in the 1920s as a place to send fingerprints. They were actually not a crime organization for the first little bit of their identity. They were actually just a place to store information, and they would take fingerprints. And this is before email. This is before computer stuff. They would have to take the fingerprints and actually physically mail them to the FBI. And then it would take sometimes months to identify who that person was and mail back the results. Phones were in the works, but they had no way of using them for faxes or anything like that. But the FBI started out as a clearinghouse of fingerprints. Fingerprints come from, I see it here, but not there, okay? The sweat glands on your body, mostly your hands, little holes in the body where the oils come out that keep your skin lubricated and moist, is basically connect the dots. When your mom is 10 weeks pregnant with you, the dots, the pores in your skin start connecting together and start forming ridges that connect. Because the sweat glands are what cause the fingerprints, that's where you get in the fingerprints. Is when you touch things, the oils from your skin are left behind on surfaces. Like any other oil, though, the temperature is too hot, the conditions are bad, they will go away. So fingerprints that are just left behind by the oils of the skin, put your cell phone up, please, are not guaranteed to be there. In Oklahoma in the summertime, somebody leaves fingerprints in the car, they're not going to be there 30 minutes later. They will evaporate. And these ridges that are fingerprints are only found on your hands. They're also found on your lips. They actually had a guy convicted on the world. They had it on World's Dumbest Criminals a few years ago on a TV show. Some guy was running out of a crime scene after he had even robbed a grocery store, and he face planted the door because the door was closed and didn't realize it. They were actually convicted him on lip prints. So you're not liable to leave a lip print behind unless you do something stupid like that.
Or best mix type guy.
There you go. Everybody is unique in your fingerprints. Nobody has got the same fingerprints as you. When we get into DNA early next week, maybe late this week, we'll talk about DNA, that if you have an identical twin, you share DNA with that identical twin. You have the same DNA as an identical twin. That's why you're identical. But even your identical twins have different fingerprints. They have, out of checking fingerprints for the last 130 years, they have yet to find fingerprints that are a match to anybody else. Yes?
So it's not possible to have a genetic condition that would cause you to have similar.
Oh, don't get me wrong. As we do this, you will see there are similarities. You may have whorls, and everybody in this classroom may have whorls on your fingerprint. That's not the big. The big patterns, everybody's got. It's the little minutiae, the small parts that nobody's got the same. The ending ridges, the dots, the deltas, things like that.
Is that how they created the database based on fingerprints?
Yes. Yes. Okay. A, which is the Bertillon system, body part measurements to show the difference between, there you go, Will and William West. Oh, it actually says the twins. See, I heard they weren't twins, but that's fine. Okay. This is the classification of, you look real close, you have an arch. An arch starts on one side of the fingerprint and goes to the other side. A loop starts on one side and returns to the side it starts on, and it can go either way. When we talked about bones, this is the radius and this is the ulna. If the loop starts on the radial side of the hand and returns to the radial side, it's called a radial loop. It starts on the ulnar side of the arm and returns to the ulnar side, it's called an ulnar loop. So you can have ulnar or radial loops. Loop is fine enough for this class. And then you have a whorl. Now, a whorl is there, if you look, and hopefully we'll see one today. If you look at a fingerprint, a whorl is actually closed like a circle. Maybe smashed a little bit, but it's closed. You do have some fingerprints that will do one of these numbers. That's not a whorl. That would be a double loop. A whorl will actually close. Okay, parts of the fingerprint. The core is the very center of the fingerprint. And the delta is where there's changes. Change, shift. How can they be used? And you hopefully nobody here knows about this. Obviously convicted criminals for their wrongdoings, outstanding warrants, convictions. You can't get a driver's license in the state of Oklahoma without leaving a fingerprint. Missing persons.
Yeah, it gets your fingerprints, man.
Yeah, you gotta have, I think it's your thumbprint. And there are some banks in law. If you don't have an account at that and you go to cash your check, they will take your thumbprint too. Something they don't mention here, which is fine. As a teacher, I'm required to give them my fingerprints. Before I was in the Army, I'd give them my fingerprints then. When I was wanting to become a teacher, I went in to get my fingerprints and they called me about a week. Oh, we made a mistake. You gotta come back and give us your fingerprints again. So you have to give up your fingerprints as a teacher. In fact, some of the people, Mr. Browning, definitely, he's mentioned it. Teachers, they've just started asking some of the teachers who've been teachers for years to go back and re-fingerprints. Not that your fingerprints change, but, you know, they just want to make sure that, you know, we're not abusing students or whatever. They call my fun. But how can fingerprints be used by civil? You have to have fingerprints for a government job. Army, teacher, in Army. Voter registration. I've never really had a fingerprint for voter registration, but driver's license I did, yes.
They didn't fingerprint me for voter rights.
I haven't been either. It must be some states. Welfare and Social Security fraud. Okay, they don't do that much in Oklahoma, right? Okay. Types of way you can do your fingerprints. Digital, which is what they do with the driver's license. It's a machine. You put your thumb. It's basically a photocopy of your thumb. Ink and roll. I tried this my first year here, my first class. In fact, I had the wrong type of ink. It took 2 weeks for the ink to come off everybody's thumbs and fingers, so I've never done it again because I don't want people walking around with ink on their fingers. We got another way that you'll be able to clean it off in one day. We are going to use the pencil and tape method, which is it's kind of messy when you do it, but you can clean it off real easy.
Are we doing that today?
Yes, we'll do that. Okay, types of fingerprints. Latent is what you're looking for when you see oils on things. It's invisible to the eye. The only way you can see it is if you develop it. You develop it by dusting powder. You can develop it by acrylic, cyanoacrylic, which is super glue. We did, again, my first year teaching here, we did that, and then I've still got glassware in there. It's got fingerprints on it. We can't get it off, so I'm not doing it more. And if you do it at home, I'll tell you how to do it, but if you do it at home, ask your mom first before you irrevocably ruin her glassware, please. Okay? She will be upset. It'll never come off. Dusting method. What you dusted, you can photograph it, you can pick it up. You have to have just like we did on a crime scene sketch, you have to have a list of stuff. Oh, sorry. Almost done. Okay, chemical reaction. Chemical reaction is super glue, electrostatic dust prints. If you ever watch CSI, they got those little things they put down and put an electrical pad down there and flip it on, and it sucks up the fingerprints on there. That works. Again, we don't have that. Super glue, that's a good way to do it. It's real simple to do it. And then that's all we're going to worry about that. Okay. Yeah, a little bit of this can be reviewed. We're going to go through real fast.
So wait, if I put super glue on my thumb,
No. What you do, and again, check with your mom first. You take a Ziploc bag, okay? You take glassware. It can be plastic, whatever. You take glassware. You put it in the Ziploc bag. Take a super glue, Gorilla Glue, something like that. Squirt it in the plastic bag with the glass. Make sure it does not go underneath the glass and stick the glass to the plastic. Forever to get undone. Make sure you just puddle up super glue. Zip it closed and leave it there. Come back in about an hour. Open it up and your fingerprints will be available on the glass. Okay? And at that point, you can take a picture of it. You can actually put powder on it and pick it up that way too. But it'll be it. And it'll be solid. It's not coming off that thing. I mean, it becomes part of the glass. Kind of fun, but again, I did that one time and realized it's not coming off, so I've never done it again.
well, you need to take the glass of water they offered.
There you go. Okay. Again, fingernails, fingerprints, we're already talking about it. 60% of people in the world have loops on their fingers. One more or all of your fingers. 35% have whorls, and only 5% have arches. So arches are not very common. Dactyloscopy is study of fingerprints. Okay. Arches, again, start on one side and go to the other side. They do not return to the original side. Loops start on one side and return to the same side they started on. You gotta look when you look though, because this, if you look, just barely look. Some people mistake that as an arch. That's not an arch. You look in the center of the fingerprint. Make sure you get the center of the fingerprint. If you get on the side, it may look like an arch when it's really a loop. And then again, whorls are enclosed. That is a double loop. I told you some of the weird stuff. A double loop, it starts on one side, and it kind of loops and comes back to the original side.
That's what I was looking at.
Okay.
I thought I got it.
And so a double loop is kind of weird, does weird stuff. They actually have what's called an accidental loop.
That's what I got.
Looks like a hat.
No, I got one of them double loops. Right?
No, it kind of looks weird. Okay, can you identify these fingerprints?
I can think number D is going to be the arch.
That's going to be an arch.
Imagine that's a double loop right there on C. It's the weird shape of everything.
Actually, it's a loop up and back. That's probably a double loop right there.
Yeah.
That's an arch.
I guess number 8 would be the whorl, wouldn't it?
Gray looks like a whorl or a double loop. These are actually clean, guys. When you go to a crime scene, sometimes you can't tell anything. Okay, we're gonna do this next part. Okay, so here's the way it's gonna go. If I can find out where to put it. Now, again, I will repeat myself. Nobody will see this fingerprint but you and me. And after I grade it and get it back to you, I don't care what you do with it. So I will not sign a contract saying I'm not going to give it to the police, but I'll give you my word. I don't care. Nobody's going to see it when I have it in my custody except me. Once I get it, I'll hang on to it, grade it, and give it back to you. So you're doing the assignment if you want to get the grade. We'll just do that. Now, the way this is going to work, you are going to, this is what you do. I don't care where you put the fingerprint on this, but if you notice there's 10 fingers, there's 10 spots in there.
No, we have to use 9.
No, you only had 9 fingers?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But everybody else, let me see your fingers. Everybody hold up, let me see 10 fingers. I want to see. Wait, now, okay. The reason, okay, yeah, I saw the number. The reason I say that, guys, is, and I'm serious about this, when I was in basic training, I'm 17 years of age, I was at Fort Benning, Georgia. If you know anything about the military, when you're in basic training, you share 50 people in a room this size, basically. You share everything. You're with them 24 hours a day. You do everything. You shower together. You do everything together. So I was in a barracks with 49 other people. And having been in that barracks, when we started doing riflery, doing weapons training and stuff like that, week number 2, one of the guys volunteered to get down in the prone position and show the position for the shooting a M16 in the prone position. And the drill sergeant whacked him upside the head with a stick, said, wrap all your fingers around the button grip. He said, I do have all my fingers around. He's missing a pinky. 2 weeks together with everybody in that barracks, nobody noticed he was missing a pinky. So sometimes you don't notice things. That's why I said I want to see all 10 of your fingers. So there's gonna, other than, everybody's gonna have 10 fingers on you, okay?
Why whack him in the head?
Because this is the old school army. Whack them in the head. Okay, so the way this works, there are pencils. You're gonna need graphite pencils. You're gonna take a graphite pencil on some scratch paper. I got scratch paper. You're gonna make a mess on the paper. I'm serious, make a mess. You're gonna take one finger. You're gonna do all 10 of them, but one at a time. Take a finger or a thumb, put it in a mess, and make a mess with it. Make it messy. Get your fingers and thumbs messy. You're then gonna take tape. And you don't need a lot, so don't be getting 15 feet of tape. You're going to take some tape. Maybe an inch, inch and a half. And you're going to put this on the messy joint. Make sure you get a center mass. Put a center mass. Rub. Take off the tape and put it in one of those squares. Up, up. Okay? Don't put it upside down. Put it up is up. Okay? I don't care where you put it, because you're going to label where you put it. Now on the handout, you will notice below each square it says finger and pattern. When you say finger, I need to know thumb, pointer finger, ring finger, pinky, whatever. And I need to look at there, and I need left to right. Left thumb, left pinky, whatever. I need you to tell me that. I've had some students, what they do is draw a circle like that. Everything here is left, everything's here right. And you just tell me, that's fine. And then you're going to look at the fingerprint, and you're going to tell me one of 4 patterns. Loop, arch, whirl, and double loop. And that's in your white book under evidence section. Those are the only 4 fingerprints I carry. Tinted arch is arch. Don't worry about labeling a tinted arch. You probably can get it wrong anyway. But if you want to, that's great. It's going to be counted wrong if it's wrong. But you're going to look at there, you're going to tell me the pattern and the finger. Now, please understand, I'm not trying to be sarcastic with this. Hold on a second. We actually did this a few years ago. I'm going to have to pull it up. There's actually a list. I got a picture of a list of names. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. We got to make sure we have all the correct ones. But if you call your finger something different than standard normal things, draw me a picture, tell me what you call it. Thumb, pointer, index is a long finger, ring finger, and pinky. Index, ring finger, pinky. That's pointer. Okay. Draw them. That way I know what finger we're talking about, okay? But you're going to have 10 fingers on here, except for, okay? We're going to do that. You can help each other, okay? You can, yeah, you're going to do this now. I've got tape. I need the tape back when you're done, because I don't have a lot of it. But there's a couple things of tape. You don't need a lot of tape, guys. I don't need 15 feet of tape.
You're a forensic teacher. Who has this? You're a forensic teacher. You can
Gonna
tell.
lose another finger.
You know what? It sucks.
No, this is true.
Okay, so what you're going to do is for the next 20 to 30 minutes, do it.
I sucked some toes before.
You
That's
nasty.
the only
Keep
thing.
it school appropriate.
They are, they just talk about.
Thank you.
I got a manual in the back. I've got a manual in the back. I've got one over there.
So,